Hello, happy people. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today, I thought it would be fun for me to knock out my serial Saturday, where I go over the forgotten and lost storytelling method that sold a lot of TVs, movies, brought back a lot of people, but built a lot of devotions to folks. With the second season, second episodes, 6-episode long Doctor Who, the Dalek Invasion of Earth from '64, black and white eras, and that sort of thing. Now, as a reminder, my first Doctor Who that I saw was the Robots of Death in Southern West Virginia, growing up on the PBS station in the Tom Baker era. I've loved it since I started showing up, watching a bunch of his stuff. Then I wound and just watched it until he regenerated in Legopolis, and then the Fifth Doctor took over in Castrobalva. I watched him being shown at the same time, contemporaneously, with the stuff that was being shown in Britain and so forth. And so I watched him all the way up to his regeneration, and then the first season of Colin Baker, and then Colin Baker's Doctor went on an 18-month hiatus. During that 18-month hiatus, I was walking up with the channels went back to the older eras to continue, and they started showing black and white with Unearthly Child, and then the Daleks and that sort of a thing, and Aztecs and that sort of thing, all in the first season. Then the second season, third season, with all the extant episodes that exist, because a lot of these in this era are missing. And then the second Doctor, and then Space the Third Doctor, and such. So you can just go ahead and watch them. And that sort of the thing. I actually watched them every Saturday, every night from Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. I would go home and definitely enjoy seeing that stuff growing up. That was my... some of my friends were poor, watching things like, G.I. Joe or He-Man, but I love Doctor Who. That was my thing growing up. They would use it to sell stations, right? I remember one day they were like, "You want to see Vengeance on Vardos, or do you want to see the Twin Dilemma?" Right? Vote in with your money, and then you're right, and such, right? And that sort of a thing. It was used to sell stuff, right? It was a big draw at the time on PBS stations. Loved it lots for those reasons. So this is the Dalek Invasion of Earth. It's the first episode of the Daleks that are back in a major way after their huge introduction the previous year. In the second serial of the first season, and now the second serial of the second season, and such, right? This is one episode fewer than their debut which was at 7 parts. It still stars as the first Doctor, my favorite Doctor right now, William Hartnell, and his swan song that he's of his granddaughter Susan Foreman is Carol Ann Ford for you folks. Science teacher and action guy Ian Chesterton is played by William Russell, and history teacher Jacqueline Hill plays Barbara Wright, and she is the context giver in historicals, but this isn't historical. And that sort of thing. Also starring as love interest for Susan is David Campbell as Peter, who's played by Peter Fraser, and Bernard Kay as Carl Taylor, and even the head of the Resistance, Dortmund, is played by Alan Judd. It's got a big giant cast, folks. It's still produced by Verity Lambert, who was the first female and the youngest producer in BBC drama. It's written by Terry Nation, who is the guy who created the Daleks and wrote in that script, and then he also wrote up The Keys to Marinus, which we reviewed previously for you folks. It's directed by Richard Martin, who does in my cinematography, and it's an absolute classic tour de force in my in this. Love them lots. Alright, so here's what I like to do for these longer ones, is give you the plot for the first episode. Not sort of a thing, but then leave you to it. And so basically the TARDIS arrives at London, near Thames, yay, great stuff, it's good stuff. And Ian and Barbara are very excited since they can go home, because the TARDIS has been going from place to place to place to place to place. But there are signs that this is not their London. There are no folks, no sounds, not even old men or birds. A bunch of disrepair. It's a signs, if you start to look at the visual clues, of a post-apocalyptic future. and that sort of a thing. So this was turned into a movie, Dalek Invasion 2180-50, if I remember correctly. By bringing back the Daleks, they did a brilliant job with not just knowing until the end of the first episode that this actually was the Daleks coming back. It was a great surprise at the time because it was the first episode was titled World's End, and at that era you didn't have the episode for the entire serial. And then episode 1, you just had individual episode titles and that sort of thing, right? So it's called World's End, and I can imagine that seeing the Dalek at the end, right before the end of the episode, and so forth, would have been like, oh, that would have been a great thing. And the shot does well too, with the cinematography and all that stuff. Love it lots. Also, you wouldn't have been told that this was a Dalek Invasion first, which I love, like I mentioned. I love how creepy this serial is by moving the Daleks to Earth and then already in control of our beloved nation in the future. They ramp up the danger and shock and horror significantly. From a 10 in the first one to an 11 in this one. The scenes of Daleks around major popular landmarks and tourist attractions and statues would have been very, very creepy at the time, I'm sure, and they still stand out. And then the emergency from the water at the are good stuff too. I'm sorry, the emergence, right? Not emergency. It's even better or paced than with one fewer episode than the previous one, and so forth. The cave crawl from the first series, which took forever and was not well paced, felt like padding. But this has the lacks, I think, even though incredible straight shotting, incredible shooting, incredible cinematography, such, and it's actually better paced at first, but it just lacks some of the magic, some of the verve, some of the je ne sais quoi. Well, the first one had when they originally gave them. So this is getting, to my mind, a 9 out of 10, whereas I gave the first one a 10 out of 10, to be fair, and so forth. This is one of my favorite Dalek Returns serials, and that's a little bit. I think there are a couple that are better than this one, but this is definitely one of my favorite ones. Anyway, so there you are, the Dalek Invasion of Earth for you folks. So it's 9 out of 10. So there you are. Have you seen this serial, The Dalek Invasion of Earth? And if so, what would you think about it? Would you agree or disagree with my 9 out of 10? Would you let me know your thoughts about it? But again, just like this review plot, try to keep it spoiler free for you folks. Now, for most folks, just as a reminder, I like to dedicate, like I mentioned earlier, this channel on Serial Saturday, which is ironic because that's actually when this show was being shown at the time, on Saturdays for kids and families and that sort of a thing. So it's actually ironic in this case. Last week I did Planet of the Giants. Next week I'll do the Rescue. I took a few months off in between the first season and the second season, but all the first seasons too. And I also done recently The Shadow. I did The Spider's Web, which was hugely influential on Spider-Man. I did the Spider Strikes Again. I did, The Crimson Ghost. I did a lot of things recently. So I thought it was time for me to head back to TV stuff for a little bit and knock out some of these things. I think it's great stuff for me to head back and knock these out. The ending scene where Susan leaves is very, very sad, very, very well done, very, very well acted, absolute classic tour de force. I think it's just an absolutely 10 out of 10. Love it lots. So I think sometimes some people argue against the chemistry of David and Susan, but I think it's fine. I don't really dislike it. Like I don't really have some of the issues that some of the fans have between that. I don't think that's the biggest issue in the world. So one of the things I like about this genre is again to watch these things. So if you like those serials and you want to see Doctor Who stuff or other things, just check out all the previous stuff. I'd be happy for you to look them up for you folks. And then hit the subscribe button. I do 7 videos a week. Yesterday I did a top 10 on my top 10 animated films of all times. For films on Wednesday, I do a video game review. I just did my review of Tropico 1 from 2001. I also do 3 reviews a week. of various things. Like yesterday, well, actually, it's on Thursday. But I'm recording this on Friday. I did my posting of a game book science fiction from 1990 by Joe Dever called In Post-Apocalyptic World, kind of like this one too. And he's also a big guy. He's sold 100,000 episodes, books in the first month in the UK in the 80s. Joe Dever's of his Lone Wolf. But this is his fourth one in a series called California Countdown, heavily inspired by Mad Max. And then it's got some stuff in there like Tuesdays was an H.P. Lovecraft in the horror genres. And then on Sunday, I do a sword and sorcery. I did Michael Moorcock a couple of weeks ago. I just recently did a Robert E. Howard short story, the guy who created Conan, and that sort of a thing. So I do these older ones. I also just did a review of a module in Dungeons & Dragons on Monday called The Assassin's Knot from 83, heavily influential. Lots of people love it a lot. It's still fondly remember today. So I like to go back and knock out a lot of those things. As you can notice, all obviously sort of these older things. That's the passion of the channel. So that sounds like you definitely hit the subscribe button and the like button, the bell icon to be notified of my 7 videos a week, and then also you let your friends know too, and have them watch these things, whether it's this Justice Hero stuff or maybe the top movies. I'm fine with that too, if that's your passion, and so forth. You don't need to post everything. I'm not going to lose any sleep if you don't read everything, but just try to do stuff that you care about, and that would be great. And there you are, and then the channel of this title is the worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Schubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones. In this case, you're watching, but you get the ideas of some things that we might have watched or played in games, right? And these sorts of things are heavily influential. We just don't. We just, because in our quest for the new, we forget the old. That's definitely where the passion of this channel comes from. And there you are. Thanks so much for watching my videos, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions, right? So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling. So I appreciate it so very, very much. And thanks again, and have an amazing day.